Okay, firstly, we'll keep it easy. Capital of Australia.
Sydney. I don't know.
Okay.
I've never left Ireland.
Okay, so that is a nil point. Canberra. Okay, trick question. Okay, don't worry. That was just a little
What was
test.
the answer?
Canberra.
Sorry, what?
Canberra.
You didn't know that.
No, I did.
Yeah, because it was written in front of you. But you didn't know that before
I knew
this.
that already, Mackers.
Play by Play on Sports Joe and Her. Brought to you by AIG. In support of 20 by 20.
It's your favourite part of the week. I'm Jenny Murphy, and these intros keep on getting cheesier and cheesier and cheesier. Thank you to the producer, Niamh, for putting me in this situation. Anyway, this is Play by Play. Mackers, good to have you back, Bibs.
Hey, girl.
What's going on?
I'm so happy we're going to get to spend some quality time.
I know, like, finally, there's no third person here to, like, wreck our heads and talk about really interesting stuff. Conan's, off making cups of tea, doing his sports editor thing.
We can just talk about ourselves.
Yeah,
and
great.
that sexy t-shirt you have on.
Oh, thanks.
What is it?
I don't know. Macker, I'm not here to talk about fashion. I'm here to talk about, we'll talk about your AFWL, Australia.
AFLW, girl.
Oh, Aussie rules. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You were away on holidays last week. How's that?
Yeah, it was fab. It was really good. We brought my little 3-month-old nephew. So we thankfully had to take it a bit handier than we have been the last couple of weeks.
Well, yeah. Well, so then you'll be able to give like full insight into the goings on in the last week in terms of women's sports and more.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then we're actually at the end of the show, we're gonna grill you a little bit about, Australia and what's coming up for you. So just a heads up there. It's gonna be great. And we'll also talk about dangerous animals that you may encounter and why maybe Melbourne isn't such a good idea after all. But I'm also here to support you and talk about like massive spiders that are dangerous and deadly and they live in urban areas too. But we'll get to that later. Ireland versus Ukraine, Tallaght Stadium.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, it was. Sorry, that wasn't a question, Jenny. Will I let you?
No, you roll with it. Go for it.
Yeah. I thought the girls were absolutely incredible. I wouldn't have watched a huge amount of women's soccer before kind of the last 18 months, but it wasn't as readily available and I wasn't as aware of the games as I am now, in the sense of like, I didn't actually used to know that they were on, the kind of way.
Yeah.
And I know that similar things have happened in the past with like the rugby and obviously our sport as well. People would have always been like over the years, sure I didn't even know you were playing, but anyway, apart from that, so I've only kind of been tuned into the girls properly over the last 18 months, but I think their performance the other night was seriously impressive, and there was obviously 2 mistakes for the 2 goals, so I think the scoreline was a little bit generous towards Ukraine in that sense. Obviously they did capitalise on the 2 mistakes, but the 2 girls would have been disappointed with the mistakes. But I know I spoke about last week about how not kind of comparing the men's game and the women's game, because it's a different, do you know what I mean? They produce a different product, but if we are going to, I'm going to do it now.
But if it suits us, we will compare.
But listen, like the girls were incredible. The first goal obviously speaks for itself. An unbelievable move. They were playing so positively in comparison. If we do compare the men this week, they were playing like such a lovely brand of football. The first goal was as good a goal you'll see anywhere. I think there's a handful of girls there who I'm thinking, aren't playing professional over in England or over in Europe, and I'm like, they're going to be snapped up by, like, I was looking at Rihanna Jarrett and I was like, somebody is going to snap her up.
Woman of the match performance.
But it wasn't even that. Like, it was very early on. It was very obvious. Like, she is a top class footballer. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't, like, obviously McCabe's a professional, and you can tell, like, you can notice the girls who obviously are in that environment all the time. If you're working 9 to 5 and then you're trying to play your football or whatever, it's obviously going to have an impact. But I thought she was incredible. Like, I think she surely is going to be snapped up. I think she probably hasn't been, I'm sure she's quite happy where she is as well, on the same hand, but I feel as though maybe she hasn't been snapped up because of the run of injuries she's had. But what an incredible comeback. Wasn't like, I know you've obviously suffered some. She's a little bit younger than you, so she's
Thanks, friend. You're the best.
No, but yeah, I thought overall I thought it was an absolutely incredible performance. Like O'Sullivan is playing unbelievable.
She was
football.
chasing and like just tenacious would be how I would describe that.
Yeah.
And like as well as that, she's playing in top flight football over in the States.
Yeah.
Was just voted MVP for a team like Carolina. Stars, Carolina.
NC Courage. No worries.
They're from Carolina. I'm gonna take that as a kind of a semi-win. And yeah, when you've got that caliber of player, I think especially when they're coming from the States and they're coming back
the world
from England.
champions. Like, do you know what I mean? And she's the player who's getting voted by her peers, which obviously is something that's. I think it was. Oh, I actually don't know if it's voted by the peers, but.
MVP. I think, for something like that, I think it is a player-led vote.
Yeah, even if it's not anyway.
It's
you know what I mean? Like,
it's massive.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like, the likes of Katie McCabe, Quinn. It's great to see Megan Campbell back in the green jersey as well.
Oh, my God.
And that's
sorry, can I speak about the way she throws the ball in? Like,
she could throw that ball that far when we were playing against each other underage. It was a pain in the ass. You had to have it was impressive, but it was also like, it's like they can have a corner anytime they're in our half of the pitch. It's nearly like a free
on the
kick.
penalty spot.
Yeah, it just puts huge pressure against when they're playing against Germany a few years ago.
You see like Louise like floating up because she's like, I'm gonna get on this.
Yeah. No, I'm like, how hyper flexible is her back?
Was it the second goal or the third goal? Anyway, she created a goal from one of those throws. I was like, she is an animal. Like, I've never seen that before in the men's game or the women's game. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think there's a Sunderland or Southampton guy that was able to do it, but he's not around anymore, so longevity and all that. And it was also great because, like you were saying, that's the first match under Vera Poe.
Yeah, I was delighted for her.
Yeah, great. And then to see Eileen Gleeson as well, who used to coach with UCD Waves and Peamount. She beat one of my former football coaches. Okay. It's great that, someone's coming in and they realise that there's strength in bringing someone who knows the lay of the land and knows how the league works and like what players knows his players well, and to kind of like bring her in as well, I think was a huge step. And then the way they played, like they've only had a month to train together, and even though we say a month, it's probably much less. Like it's not a month because you've got girls that are away training, so it's actually together. It's only a couple of days, maybe a few weekends here or there. So to be able to be like, this is the kind of brand of football that we're going to play, and we see it in the very first game, is massive. So I'm looking forward to it. Their next game isn't until it's against Germany in Ireland next September, so they've got a decent break now. I'm sure there will be like friendlies and stuff coming up and maybe other competitions, but
they're looking good. Like they've given themselves every chance, you know what I mean? Like they're playing unbelievable stuff as well.
So maybe like we could wing it that, Joe or her or AIG could get us out to the Ukraine and we could do like some sports commentary. Nudge, nudge. No, it was pretty good. Pretty good for the girls in green. We also we'll talk a little bit about Ireland Samoa, the men's game. Did you catch any of that?
I didn't catch any of it, but I heard it was super impressive. They kind of went back to the basics and, we're doing all the basics well. You know yourself when you're obviously, not that they're struggling for a bit of form, but they hadn't been hitting the heights that had been hoped for them. But it sounds as though they just went back to doing the simple things really, really well. When you're in kind of a rut like that, just go back to.
Yeah, like it wasn't by any means, really exciting, unbelievable rugby. But I think especially if you're playing against the Simones, even the Simone women, they like to make big tackles. Yeah. They're kind of like that's their nearly game going into it. It's built in. And they're capable of doing huge damage. So the more you kind of spread the ball out and have those long passes, the more you're leaving your ribs open to getting absolutely crunched. So yeah, they played it kind of tight, and then they were down to 14 men after 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to be said for it,
there's like bonus point win, with playing against these big guys.
Did you think it was a red card?
Yeah, I did think it was a red card.
Okay.
Like, I thought the referee was brilliant. The referees have been a bit touch and go, especially at the start of the season. But Nick Berry, he used to play rugby for he's Aussie under 21s player. He's a scrum half, and then he played with Queensland Reds, London Wasps, and Racing Metro. And then he got injured. He got concussion, so he had to retire early. But like for a player, as a referee, that kind of communication is huge. You want to know what you're doing wrong and right, and even little things like you're going in to try and make a poach, and then he's 13 hands away, leaning on your knee, and you're like, oh, okay. And it's just kind of like it's nice rather than you making the mistake, you're ripping, and then he pings you for a penalty. So that kind of constant chat, and even how he gave. There was a yellow card for Samoa earlier, which I did think was a yellow card. It was a high tackle, direct contact to the head, but Stockdale had been dipping, and the Samoans players, his hips were hinged, his knees were hinged, so he did make an effort. It was going to be a card. But then for Aki's, like, it was a reaction. It was a bounce of a ball. He had, like, I think they worked out 0.2 seconds to react, which is nothing. And the first thing you do instinctually is hit that person with the ball, and you try and do it as effectively as possible and get low. But he didn't have the time, but he still didn't hinge. Direct contact with considerable force. Yeah, it was kind of going to be a red.
Do we know how that's going to impact him going forward? I know
he's banned. It was just today he's banned for the next 3 days, 3 games. So he's out for the World Cup, and that's annoying and frustrating in itself, and it's gutting for him. But even if you're banned for the 3 days, or 3 games, it means you're also not allowed to train with the team.
Oh, no.
So that's even frustrating. If you have someone like Henshaw and Ringrose, or Henshaw Farrell, whoever the combination might be, they now don't have someone to run against defensively, so to put pressure and prepare you for the game. So yeah, it's not ideal, but quarterfinal against the All Blacks, it's going to be exciting. So loads of people are trying to swap tickets now.
I actually saw at least 10 people on Twitter being like, please. Okay, folks. It's like, why do we always do this to ourselves? Like, we always jinx ourselves as a nation.
Well, no, because I was looking into going, and then I was like, oh, which way is it going to go? And then in the end I didn't, because I looked at my bank account and I was like, this is a terrible, terrible financial decision.
I know, I should go to Japan.
Yeah, I'll just do that. And you're kind of like, if you buy the, if you buy the wrong ticket, if you don't think that we're going to come first, then I feel like we've nearly jinxed it for the team. Yeah. So I was just like, if I could afford it, I probably would have gone for the South Africa and gone for we're going to place first. But
Japan are playing unbelievable rugby. Did you see the Japan-Scotland match?
Yeah, one of the best games of the tournament. Thank God.
Japan are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Their coach is savage though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, they back themselves. Like, loads of people are talking about they play risky rugby and whatever. It's like, no, they just are really confident in how they play.
Yeah.
So
they had something like 200 days together or something, didn't they? Like in the run up to the World Cup.
Do you think they're going to beat South Africa?
Oh, I don't know.
As our rugby correspondent.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'd just feel like any random punters having a guess. I'm like,
it's fine. That's what most people are.
But Pat, our actual rugby correspondent last week, was saying, he made.
He's jinxing everything, by the way. Sorry, I interrupted.
But he spoke about the Korea Soccer World Cup, and how they surprised everyone. They got really far. But I think that kind of undermines Japan in the sense that Japan actually are unbelievable, playing so well. They're actually unbelievable. But I think they could. I think they could beat South Africa. That
would be huge for rugby in general, because at the I think they're now they seem like a tier 1 nation.
Yeah.
But rugby, it's not played in very many countries, so to have another strong team come out.
I heard a suggestion on the radio during the week that someone was like, Japan should play in the Six Nations or something. I was like, that'd be gas.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But if they played against the championship, they have Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, South Africa. They're well able to
compete.
Yeah.
Well,
so
it's not even just compete. They're beating.
Yeah, they're able to do damage.
Yeah.
Anyway, and their jersey's pretty nice too. So, moving along. Talked about marathon times. Sub 2 hour marathon. Gross. But pretty impressive. So October 12th. A human ran 26.2 miles, so just over 42 kilometres in less than 2 hours.
That's 21 kilometres an hour the whole time.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I worked out, it was like, if you do...
I can't even run up the stairs at the minute. I'm only joking. It's a joke,
Oh
Melbourne.
man, if Melbourne are listening right there, they're like, oh, can we void her contract? Are we able to?
I'm back in the straight and narrow. I'm back in the straight and narrow.
Sure. So are we going for burgers after this?
up.
Okay. Solid. I've lost my train of thought because I'm
Sorry.
now thinking of burgers. Thank you, Mackers.
21 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, it was something
Human.
like if he did like I don't know. It was something he was doing. I was doing if he ran 100 meters, and each of his 100 meters repetitively. So he'd have to do 100 meters in 17 seconds repetitively for 42 times. 422 times.
Oh yeah, I was like, no girl.
Yeah, I could do 42 times, but like, gross. Yes,
You couldn't do it.
probably not. Well,
17 seconds is really quick. Well, like, no, it's not really quick, but it is for 42 times in a row.
in a row. Oh yeah, I need breaks. I need breaks. I need little burger breaks. Oh, thanks for that, Mackers. Yeah. How far did you think you get?
How far would I get?
Yeah. Like doing the 100 meters
Oh, sorry.
in 17 seconds.
I don't know. I think I could do it.
Okay. Sure. I hope you sense that my oh sure was like I didn't believe you at all.
Yeah, of course. But I know you, girl.
Okay, thanks. It's been great for my ego.
The previous time he tried it in the setup that he did it in, you know, with the pacers and all, he did it in like 2:02 or something, which was like incredible. But obviously, this time the big aim was. Did you see how happy that he had like 42 pacers that were like rotating in and out? Because it was funny. Like when I first seen it, I was like, I'm sure the fellas behind him did it as well. Like, what is everyone talking about? But no, apparently there was 7 groups of pacers who swapped in and out.
Oh, sick! Like even like little things.
They're impressive people.
Yeah, they were running crazy times for their like I think they were doing 7K bursts, and it was still like I was just looking at the pace that he was doing over there. They picked it was all strategically done. So they picked Vienna because it was a fast course, and it was quite flat, so it wasn't too pacing. And then they had like did you see his runners that he was wearing?
They looked large. I don't know anything about them though.
They were large. They were like, you know, built for marathon running. And then people were like giving out about, you know, was that not cheating in itself? And I was like, well, runners, like he still has to lift.
He
his
wasn't
legs
trying to
up
win
and
a
down.
race. Like he was racing against himself. So like, who's he cheating against? He's
and
cheating himself, is he? Or like what?
I don't know. I think there was a lot of, especially like there's been a lot of records broke over the last 2 months. And like I was watching Hear Me and Megan's.
Her race, yeah.
Her race.
The person who came first, that was a world record, was it?
Yeah, it was. But it was just like you were watching the athletes afterwards, and when they crossed, like there were celebrations and people hugging each other. But like when you don't celebrate with the person that has done something that amazing, I think that's suspicious in itself. Like if athletes are, was that a legitimate time?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it was just, and then I wouldn't be knowledgeable about athletics at all, but I would follow journalists that have competed to a high level or would be, you know, this is their area.
There was a bit of a controversy there recently with Nike, wasn't there? And the coach for, what was it?
Salazar?
Yeah.
God.
Difficult name.
Yeah, well, I'm butchering all the names, so...
Yeah, I don't know. And then it seems that all his athletes then seem to have backed him as well. So, like, it's not like they were like, oh God, he's kind of tainted my brand, or, you know, if that was our manager who was like associated in any way, like even if it's kind of innocent till proven guilty, it still kind of wouldn't be out in the media saying, just in case, because like, you know, you never know, you know, the kind of way, like
it's disappointing because you've got cycling, athletics, so many of these amazing sports that require so much.
How many times, like, we saw Jessica Ennis went back and won a gold medal retrospectively. Like, that's so shit. Like, you know, when you win something,
you want it at the moment. I know, it's
they
so
came
great.
back and they were like, oh, sorry, actually, that All-Ireland final, never going to happen. Like,
yeah,
that All-Ireland final that you lost in 2014, like, you actually won it. You'd be like, oh, I missed out on my 2 weeks of
Don't worry, you more than made up for it this week, so grand. We have to speak about it as well, speaking of marathons. Fionnuala McCormick, so she smashed her PB. So she's got Tokyo qualification in the bag. So this is her 4th Olympic Games that she's going to be competing in. She shaved about 4 minutes off her personal best.
I know.
Which is a chunk. So it was like 2:26:47. So it's her 2nd on the Irish all-time list, right behind Katrina McKernan. That's not too bad going. So we actually
Irish
had...
athletics is in such an unbelievable place at the minute, isn't it?
I know, deadly.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So much fun to watch. I'm like, you go guys, running really fast, being really fit from the couch.
We were Tanya Rosser was in last week and she's like, oh, I love watching it. I hate doing it, but
really?
I love watching it. So it's like, I hear you, girl.
Yeah.
So Niamh McEvoy, the woman that I was speaking about earlier that's making me do continuous cheddar-like intros, she was speaking to Ciara Mageean earlier in the weekend. She's talking about, you know, her pretty decent performance in the World Athletic Championship. So she talked us through that race. Let's have a listen.
Whenever you see something like 3:51, I never will say, and I'll never put myself down, but I'm a realistic person that I will never achieve 3:51 in my lifetime. That time is 4th in the all-time list. It's something that most athletes will never touch on, and it's something that there's a question mark over for a lot of people. So that's tough, and that's tough for me to feel stepping off the track. But then I look at that race and I see girls who came 4th, American girl Shelby, who I watched cool down. She had tears in her eyes coming 4th in 3:54. Yeah. But I was like, Shelby, you ran 3:54.
Yeah.
That in itself is a life achievement that you should be extremely proud of. Now, to miss out on a medal and run that fast is ridiculous. But I know whenever I see those athletes, I'm like, well, I can achieve that.
Yeah.
I can run what Jenny Simpson ran. I can run what Shelby ran. Yeah. And that gives me a lot of excitement and a lot of faith, because I believe in those athletes, and I believe that they're no better than me.
Yeah.
And that with that little bit of extra work, and just not even extra work, extra consistency. I joined my team in Manchester 2 years ago, and I've made such leaps and bounds between then and now. Yeah. So it's exciting to see what will happen in the next year, the next 2 years, the next Olympic cycle as well. It's an exciting place to be, and I feel that I can make that progression and make it to the sub-4 club.
Right, you can listen to the full interview with Ciara and find out, you know, on all our audio platforms. You know, the usual that I can't name right now, but SoundCloud, Spotify, the whole shebang. So she mentioned there that, you know, when Hassan finished and got 3:51, Ciara said that that's something that she'll never be able to hit.
Yeah.
Do you know, as an athlete, if you see a teammate or someone that you're playing against being like, that's class, I can never do that. Now I know there's question marks over that 3:51 that we spoke about, but is that quite difficult to be like, oh, that's cool, but that's something that I know I won't be able to do?
I think it's a bit different in athletics. You know, obviously, like, we play a sport where you play one team and you either win or you lose. You know what I mean? You've a much higher chance of winning when you're only playing one opposition. Like, whereas you're thinking about, you know, that's in the world. That was like, she came 10th in the world. Like, it was absolutely incredible. If you hear her speaking, I watched her interview afterwards, and she was talking about how obviously the race went out really quick and she kind of fell away at the back, and she could have easily, you know, put the head down or let herself fall off even more, but she actually ran a PB that day. Like, I think there's so much to be taken from, you know, yourself when you improve on something, or I don't know what it would be in rugby, but say like you clip more scores than you usually would, or you do something, like you're kind of just happy to do the best that you've ever done. You know, I'd say she was delighted with her PB regardless of where she came.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think
that's what I mean. Like, I think the PB thing in athletics is so incredible. I also was talking to Paralympic swimmer. Oh my God, sorry. Help me, Jenny.
Yes. Ellen Keane?
Ellen Keane, I'm sorry, Ellen. Oh my God, my brain is like not working. But she spoke before about winning medals, and she was saying, you know, even if I didn't win a medal and I went out and swam as fast as I possibly could and got a PB, like, that's what's important to me. You know, it's about bettering yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's come from quite a different space from like me, where I'd go out and play a championship game, and it's either you win or you don't, and I'm only playing one opposition. So, yeah.
And you could have an absolute mare of a day and still win because you lean on your teammates.
Yeah.
But I think with athletics and all those, you are on your own. Like,
Exactly.
And even like...
No, but like you can play badly, you can win playing badly in GAA and in rugby, you know what I mean? You can drag the team into your opposition into a dogfight. Not that Dublin ever do any of those shady tactics, but like I've seen, like in our All-Ireland final, it happens in GAA all the time, it happens in men's matches, like oftentimes the All-Ireland finals aren't good games, but like you actually can't do that in athletics. If you're not at your best, you're not going to win, whereas like in team sports, like that, it's like if you think about even tennis as well, like you can't really say something like that. Golf, you can't win playing badly, whereas like in kind of those field sports,
every
that I'm
shot,
talking about,
every lap, everything counts. And even like the pacing and stuff, I think it would be so hard because like you're saying, you know, you're racing against X amount of people, but at the end of the day, you're like, this is the time that I should be hitting over every lap. So you're kind of very much focused on yourself and your own tempo and race, but it can be just so distracting.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I don't do athletics. I'm really
she's
slow.
A legend.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think like
badass.
half of Ireland Googled Boke. What is Boke at the end of one of her many great interviews.
Yeah, I know, what a legend.
What a legend.
But I think her interviews I think that's another individual thing as well. Like, you know, when say me or you do an interview, well, I don't know, you probably don't give a shit, but you're very conscious in team sport of not impacting anyone that you play with. So you're like, I don't want to say anything here that might, not that it would upset, but like get into their heads or maybe annoy them, you know, like, not that anyone will get annoyed, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're trying to keep everything very...
You're quite self-conscious and you want to just...
Whereas if I was just representing myself, I probably wouldn't be thinking about it as much, and I'd be like, yeah, listen, I'm absolutely wrecked after that. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, when you're representing a whole team, like, you could probably, you know, Lindsay Davey wouldn't be wrecked after it, so I can't say, oh, listen, we're wrecked after that, because I don't know how the other girls are feeling. But I think, like, her interviews are absolutely classic. Like, I think she's a legend, and fair play to her. Like, she very much reminds me of the two rower boys and the...
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I wouldn't mind having
it's funny
an
though
point with them. Or Ciara. Actually, we actually already spoke about that last week. And as well as that, you know, I know you're kind of talking about, you know, interviews yourself. But Conan, we spoke about him earlier, sports editor of Sports JOE.ie. He was in chatting to your teammate Nicole Owens, so we got a bit of a whopper interview there. Don't know, have you got any insights there? We'll have a listen to it first. But she basically talked about like injury and going into, you know, still being part of the team and helping the team even when she wasn't able to get on the pitch with you guys. So let's have a listen to that first.
All right, so Trinity Sport Ambassador Nicole Owens, you're back in Trinity. Fond memories of the place?
Yeah, brilliant memories of the place, even kind of coming into this building as well. The last time I would have probably been in this building was like 7 a.m. doing like circuits in my final year with the GA team. But even walking through the campus in general, I had four really good years here. I was away in my second year and kind of missed it a lot actually after being here first year. But no, it's great to be back and to be involved.
How important did you find that to sort of get involved when you were here, to get involved with a team, just to sort of throw yourself into that sort of college experience, I suppose? Yeah,
because I suppose when you start college, it's sort of a little bit overwhelming because everyone's coming from, sort of, you're going from, you know, your structure where you know everyone in your school and you're kind of getting thrown into, you know, a really big, bustling college. And I think football teams or any kind of sports team in general are a great way to meet people and kind of to, I suppose, grow within a group of like-minded individuals. So some of my best friends would still be girls that I would have met through the team in Trinity, and like we've all gone on to do different things, but it's kind of, you know, it's the thing that still kind of runs through all of us.
And you did Spanish and sociology?
I did, yeah.
What was the thinking? What's the pathway there?
To Spanish and sociology?
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I didn't have a vocation per se. So I kind of went towards arts because I suppose it's more getting more of a critical understanding of kind of the world and like getting different perspectives, which is always good to sort of challenge your worldview, like coming from like, you know, nice sheltered Malahide. a big tough cheer to me, but you know what I mean. And yeah, I think I had obviously written down a load of options, and kind of Trinity was sort of always my first choice. And then I'd done Spanish in school, and there's always that idea like having a language is good. And then I think in one of the open days or whatever, sociology really interested me, because I'm really interested, I suppose, in people and why certain things are the way they are, and how I suppose things have been like socially sort of constructed over time, and that they've just been accepted. So sociology appealed to me, and I think I'd put it down as one of the choices anyway, and as the one I got.
I suppose it's getting more and more relevant now as well, you know, as the world goes on in today's climate. Like, you know,
yeah.
Do you find that your antennas are up a lot with a lot of current issues?
Yeah, I think even, I suppose you see it like all the time, any sort of like current affairs, like the whole thing with like, say, Justin Trudeau and the, like blackface is sort of people like not understanding why that's, you know, why it's so important that like behaviour like that is called out, and that like leading back to sort of like, I suppose, traditional views or the way things used to be, and kind of understanding how that's changed over time and how attitudes have changed over time, because sort of I thought at that time paper that was fine, but now kind of people are a bit more aware, although maybe it's not, and they're channeling maybe negative stereotypes.
And then it's very relevant for like women's sport as well, especially in Ireland, with like amazing pushes going on with 20 by 20. And I look at even the Republic of Ireland v Ukraine match.
Yeah.
There was a bit of like, you know, people saying, well, there was an appeal to get them into the game, and some people actually questioning that. But as you say, like where we come from, this is the right thing to do, right, to try and readdress that balance.
Well, I think so, and I think part of it is maybe a lack of awareness. People even know that the games are on, because, like say the women's Irish team, and I suppose ourselves, the Dublin team, and any kind of the women's sport maybe traditionally wouldn't have been given the media space. People weren't really aware of them. You kind of, if you don't have an opportunity to see any of the matches, you don't really know any of the teams, so you don't really have any of that connection. Whereas like now, if like, you know, there's an Ireland lads match on, like I'm not mad into the Ireland, the men's team in general. But like, you know, you'd recognise a few players, a few names you'd know from the Premiership, so you already kind of have some connection.
Yeah.
And I think the other kind of side of that is, I suppose, little girls and boys, but I think predominantly little girls kind of seeing that they can play sport to a high level and they can continue it. And sure, with the likes of the Ireland team, it can be a career if you know you're good enough and you're committed enough. Like a lot of those girls are playing in the UK or in the US, like.
Yeah, and they'll see, you know, that there's a crowd willing to go and watch the games, and like that could be them one day then as well.
Yeah, and I think as a sport, like it does get better. Like the games, like over time, if you look at men's Gaelic football 20 years ago, it doesn't resemble what it looks like now. You know, so in kind of ladies football, it is, like from my perspective, I get the LGFA is a much younger organisation than the GA, and you can see like how kind of teams are getting better and structures in place for teams are getting better.
So I heard you did your Erasmus in Spain.
Yeah, so I did it in Granada, which is a more city. Up on the mountains near Malaga. It's about like an hour and a half out of Malaga, so you fly into Malaga. But it was great because you're kind of an hour and a half from the beach and an hour and a half from Sierra Nevada mountains for skiing. So it's kind of, yeah, it was a brilliant experience. And when we were over there, we went over to Morocco as well, because it was like a €50 Ryanair flight from Seville, where some of my friends were. So no, it was just a great year to, I suppose, grow up a bit and experience living abroad. Being away from football as well, which is something that I'm kind of like since I've can ever remember. I've kind of been in a structured team environment for at least 9 months of the year. So it was nice to kind of be away from it, but also kind of probably embedded my love for it again, because I missed it. I missed it way more than I expected to. But no, it was a really good year of, the Spanish are a great crack. I'm sure like Erasmus students kind of gravitate together. So like we're at a Danish Christmas dinner, like drinking schnapps after every course and everything, which is like an experience that like I would never have had had I just stayed here.
Are you like me then, like when you're getting towards September, October, you're sort of like, I wouldn't mind a bit of a break now from football for a few months, but then when you get that break, you're mad to get back into it again? Yeah,
a little bit. Like it's kind of like sort of for the first few weeks, it's like, it's lovely not having to ride off Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and like if someone's like, you're around next week, it's like, and you have multiple evenings to choose from. But actually kind of in about like 2 or 3 weeks, you're kind of, you're done a lot of drinking. You've done, like we've been lucky the last few years, we've been celebrating. And kind of like that structure is actually, like for me anyway, it suits me as a person. And you kind of miss being around everyone. Because part of it is kind of life's so busy, it's kind of hard seeing like say all your friends all the time. Whereas like, because we all have to be there, whatever it is, 4 times a week, kind of that's a chance where all of you are meeting every time. You don't have a choice about it, there's no leeway, so it means
I always find then, like, when you do have the choice about it, you end up going to the gym or something anyway on the time you would be training. But it's the fact that it's you getting to choose, you feel a bit more liberated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I kind of like exercise in general for me is just kind of a really good way of like keeping myself in a good place, and I've kind of always exercised, so kind of I get into a gym routine then, and obviously like this year, given that I'm rehabbing, like I'm kind of, it's off season, but like it's in a weird way it's not off season because I'm like trying to training as hard as I would have been during the year. It's just unfortunately a bit different.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. So 27th of July, warm up against Monaghan. You got injured. Did you do your cruciate then?
Yeah, I ruptured just the ACL, but I didn't hurt anything else.
And then not even 2 full months later, you're back playing against Cork. So 25th of August, you're back for the semi-final. Yeah,
so it was 4 weeks because that was 4 weeks was kind of it was about as tight as it could possibly have been, and unfortunately in the end it was, I don't know if it was too tight or I just got unlucky and got another hit again in the semi-final. But yeah, no, there was a bit of leeway because I just did my ACL. I didn't do any of the other ligaments around it, so you've got 4 ligaments in your knee, so if you do one of them, you're at risk. Most people do like 2, so then there's no leeway, whereas like I kind of had 3, so it was like, listen, we'll see if we can compensate, if we can build everything else up. And I had got it in a great place, like I passed I went to Santry and did all the testing, it was in a great place. It obviously just, there wasn't enough. I suppose and the king for Santry like called it like wiggle room, like, and every time you do something else, like I didn't have a lot of wiggle room because all the risk factors are high. Apart from not having an ACL, I'm also female and play GA, which is like a cut and pivot sport. So yeah, unfortunately it didn't last much longer than 3 minutes, but listen, I would have had to do all that work anyway before the surgery, and at least that way it gave me a short-term goal to focus on, because I think like had I just had to build it up for the surgery, knowing that I was going to lose whatever 40-50% of it after the surgery through muscle atrophy, I don't know if I would have been able to push myself as hard as I did.
I heard you did 33 sessions, like individual sessions for rehab in that 4-week period. Is that true?
Yeah. So I don't know where Mick got 33 from, but no, I think it was actually 35 when because it was kind of what helped fuel me was knowing I had that much under me, because obviously a part of it was mental, because there was a mental kind of battle as well as a physical battle, because I knew that there was, a very like necessary functional component my knee was missing. But yeah, I suppose I knew that I was going to be very tight, and I just wanted to put myself in a position that I knew I'd done everything I possibly could have if, what happens in the end did happen if I didn't make it. So I suppose I knew it was a short time frame that I could get my head down and just work as hard as possible and give myself the best chance of success.
And how did you find going to training and stuff then? What was your routine? Did you still go down to training?
Yeah, no, of course I was as involved with the team. It was more just I tried to get there and get my session done quickly, and then sort of go out and watch the girls training. But obviously it's a bit different because you are removed, even though you kind of have all the banter and everything in the dressing room beforehand, but kind of everyone else is going out as a group and then you're going to the gym, and kind of just trying to build it up in your back to hopping and jumping over hurdles and doing side steps and stuff that you don't want to be that's the important foundational stuff. You just want to be playing football so.
Were you picking up cones for them and stuff and roaring them on?
Yeah, no, I tried to I kind of would try and, because my first part of my job was to try and give myself the best chance obviously to get back for the team, but kind of once then I got my rehab done, it was then out and just try and be as much involved as possible as I could be.
I read an interview before the final where somebody was saying that your contribution at training was so invaluable. What were you doing for the players at that stage? Because they were really talking about how it was great having you there at training.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's kind of I wouldn't necessarily be someone who talks a lot at training. It'd be more like kind of my contribution. I usually try, the pitch is usually where I try and make my contribution. Yeah. So it kind of changed the dynamic or sort of the role I felt I could play. So I tried to talk to people if I could say anything positive or give them some sort of feedback, just purely based on the fact that I could then look at it from more of an objective outside perspective rather than sort of being as involved. And yeah, I just tried to, I suppose, instill as much belief as I had in the team, even though I wasn't involved. The team is a team for a reason. Yeah. I
read one piece with Niamh McEvoy, and it seemed like she was hinting at something big that you had done, but she didn't go into detail. Was there anything like in particular that you had done that sort of made the players think like that?
I don't know. I talked to the team, which is kind of something that I wouldn't really have done before to an extent. Before the final, just because it was something that I felt I could bring, maybe kind of the emotional side, and kind of I wanted to. I suppose again, like trying to get back to the semi-final, I was doing everything I could, and this I suppose was doing everything I could, like given kind of the situation I was in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like hopefully it seems like that. Like was received positively by everyone anyway.
It definitely was. Like I'd say that would be very inspiring as well if somebody in your position. But even just go back to the start of your career in the Dublin team. So you were in the panel a while before you were starting. So how did you find out? You must have really had to sort of hang tight and.
Yeah. So 2011, like my first year of college here, in Trinity was my first year on the Dublin panel as well. So I was kind of 18, and I was probably a bit immature. I was trying to like have the college experience, that fresher experience, and sort of play at that high level. So I probably didn't give myself the best chance. Like now looking back, I'm like I should have either committed fully or stepped away. And then I was away second year, and then third year, and I came back, and I'd kind of spoken to that I missed football so much. It was kind of, that would have been 2014, and I was kind of like wasn't really getting on, but sure, I was only like 19, 20. And then 2015, 2016, I would have started sort of getting more involved. I probably grew a lot as a player. Obviously being involved in the setup, you should be growing. You're getting the likes of I would always measure myself against Goldie, Sinead Goldrick, and kind of like 14, kind of going into 15, 16 was kind of when I felt I could give her a good battle in training. She kind of would be almost my benchmark, because that is she's the best defender in the country. So I'd kind of almost go out of my way at training to mark her,
really?
because I needed to toughen up and I needed to get stronger, and she is probably one of the toughest players we have. So kind of getting the feedback as well from the manager, they could see the battles I was having from her. Then 2016 I kind of worked my way in the starting team, and then I've been lucky ever since that I've managed to get a jersey.
So when you started, I suppose, winning ball off her training, you were thinking, I'm starting to do well.
Yeah, because I suppose it's a pride thing, and she's incredibly competitive as well, and it's almost like, that instilled a lot of confidence in me, knowing that I could stand up to her and give her a battle, and because I still, she wouldn't remember it because it was just a kind of routine, whatever training match. But I remember a time I managed to barge her out of the way and literally physically manhandled her off the ball and won the ball. And I remember just running away, firstly thinking she was going to come and kill me, but also I can't believe I just got the ball off Goldie, and I would have been 21 or 22 then. So it's kind of growing up and being able to see that now I can compete with her. Yeah.
But you never have given yourself a handier session and go on somebody a bit weaker than Goldie?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not unfortunately, it's great for us. It's unfortunate for other teams that we don't have very many weak defenders. But yeah, I suppose I wanted to improve, and I think when you're playing against the best, you're kind of forced to improve.
I heard you're always wanting to win all the fitness trials and the testing.
Who told you that?
I have my sources.
Yeah.
Is that something that you always prided yourself on?
Yeah, I've always been I've always kind of been good at the kind of aerobic fitness side of it. I ran when I was in primary school. I didn't run in secondary school, but cross country running, and I loved it. And we it kind of became a thing. We obviously pre-season every year. There's a lot of running, and we would do 1Ks and Broncos throughout the year. And it is. I don't know. It's become a source of pride for me. So now it's kind of I will absolutely kill myself. It's not even. It's part of it is personal, because I want to obviously get the best score I can, in the 1K or whatever. But then part of it is refusing to lose to anyone.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's kind of it is. The role I have played in the last few years has been on the wing, and the kind of the role of wing forward under Mick is incredibly demanding, being up and down.
Yeah.
So it sort of stood to me. Yeah.
So you've become Sinead Goldrick now. You don't even realise it, but you are that person now who doesn't want anybody to beat her, and you're super competitive.
Yeah, I know.
Would you? Who would become second? Would you actually start feeling that somebody's getting a bit close to you, and then you start doing a bit of extra work to make sure you're ahead of them?
Yeah. I should just be, just thinking about getting the best possible score for myself. But yeah, like I would like if someone's kind of like in the last while, it's been like Hannah O'Neill or Woodsy have been like behind me, and I'm like not a chance. Like, so and I suppose that's kind of the way like with a team you all push each other, because I know like in some of them, especially early on when you're not sure how to pace yourself, you match yourself against someone you know you can stick with, or that you know is just a little bit faster than you, so you can try and push yourself. So it's kind of like everyone is. Especially this year, everyone is really, really pushing on, and like kind of over the 3 years Mick's been there, like you can see, because we're doing the same fitness test consistently, you can see the scores getting pushed up, and you can see we're hitting the level we were hitting later stage previous year at an earlier stage. So it's going to keep going. So I'm just going to try keep on top of it.
Yeah. Well, what do you do now with a knee injury? How do you stay on top of it? Like, are you able to do aerobic stuff?
So I just got just last night actually I got the okay from my physio to swim again properly, because I've been kind of bopping around the pool, but to swim and to run in the pool. But I've been on the bike, so it was great being back on the stationary bike. And then I have a lot of rehab to do, and it has to be done every day. So I'm kind of in a bit of a like my own sort of training block at the moment, and that's been really good for me mentally, just to like, you know, be going in and know that like each session is making it that little bit stronger and bring me closer to getting back. But yeah, I'm probably someone who like prides myself on being fit. So kind of like one of the first things that I thought, like not one of the first things, but like soon on into realising that I was going to be out for whatever it was, if it's 6 months or if it's 9 months, was like planning how I was going to stay fit, because it's really important to me. Yeah.
Well, you got 4 in a row now in your mind. I take it you're still as hungry as ever coming into next season. Yeah,
no, I suppose the run now is just to try and get back, so I'm in a position that I can contend for a jersey next season, because like the competition is, as it is every year, but it's getting fiercer as I call them like my kids, but like all my kids have grown up and are now starting in All-Ireland finals. But yeah, no, next year it all starts again, and I think that's some of the beauty of it. No matter how well we played this year, you know, or didn't play, but either way, like no matter how much we succeeded this year, come January, like it's all wiped. And you know, if we lose an All-Ireland semi-final next year, we won't think, oh, well, we won it last year. You know, it's not. It's very much, it's a clean slate, and everyone starts on a clean slate, and that is kind of some of the beauty of it.
Nicole, thanks very much.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Right, so Nicole was speaking a little bit about the talk that she gave you guys. How, I can't imagine how hard it would have been for her, but how was it for, you know, you guys as her teammates to...
Yeah, I suppose, you know, Nicole's... I was about to say, Noelle's a very good friend of mine, can't even get her name right. Like, no, she's not. No,
you don't like her at all?
No. I'm extremely, extremely close with Nicole and Noelle, actually, but we're talking about Nicole.
She hates you.
No, extremely close with Nicole. You know, she's Sylvester's. She's a legend anyway, but we would have got particularly close over the years because we're always like, we're car buddies. We would have always been driving to and from training together. And, you know, I just over the last couple of years have been like so proud of her in the way she's like broken into the team, and she's contributed so much. She went from kind of struggling to get into the team to becoming one of the best forwards in the country. Like, and I know when she got injured, it was at a point in the season where she's a clutch player. Like, you're thinking, Jesus, are we going to be successful without her? Like, she is one of those players. So it was a huge blow to the team. But obviously for her personally, it was extremely upsetting. And, you know, there was an outside chance that she would be able to have been able to play the semi-final. So she had a couple of weeks, and she did an absolutely Trojan amount of work to kind of give her the best possible chance, but she only had 3.5 weeks. You know, it has been done before. It's been done in ladies football. I know it's been done in other sports, but just if we're speaking specifically on like a woman and how their capabilities of doing it. So there was a lot of pressure on her to kind of try and build up all the muscles around it. You know, you have to bulletproof everything else. And she did an absolutely incredible amount of work, and she was in the sports clinic, and she passed all the tests with flying colours. Like the physios in there were like, we actually can't believe you've achieved this. But only she'd be able to do it. Like, she's an incredible athlete. Like, she's the type of character who wins all the fitness tests that we ever do. She wins every run ever. And she gave herself the best possible chance to come back and play the court game. And I just will always be so grateful to her for that. Obviously, people know how that transpired on the day. She went up to win a ball and she ended up landing on someone else's foot, so she wasn't on like a steady base. It was like literally a freak accident. She trained fully on the Wednesday. There was like match scenarios. We were playing, like, she was proper playing football the week before the game, and she seemed fine. It was just like a freak thing where she landed on someone's foot. But I'm so grateful for what she did, because in the run up to that match, her being named kind of alleviated a huge amount of the nerves within the group. Like, so, and then when you're in the match 3 minutes in, like, your focus is totally shifted. There's no nerves there anymore because the game has started. So her putting herself in that position and the work and the effort that she put in to play those 3 minutes, like, massively impacted our season. And I know, like, from the outside looking in, that might sound stupid, but that's just the dynamic of a team. Like, things can make you nervous, and for her to have her presence on the team, I know, obviously, like, even for me in a parade walking around, like, she'd be standing in front of me as 10 and I'm 11, like, and she's just an incredible leader and an incredible part of the group. And obviously then it was very disappointing for her after the match, because she knew then her season was over. After the court game, she knew then her season was over and she wouldn't have been in a position to play the All-Ireland final, which is extremely tough. But the way she conducted herself around the group is as admirable a thing I've ever seen in a team environment. Like, she is, I'm like actually getting a bit emotional talking about it, because she's just such, like, a great person, a great friend to so many people in the group. And we do a lot of, like, analysis, as does any team. And I suppose just after one of the sessions, it kind of clicked to the next slide, and I was like, oh, it's a bit more creative than your usual slides, Shane. And Nicole stood up and she was like, I suppose I asked Shane, could I address the group? And we'd have a thing where we'd always talk about, as does any team, you know, like, keeping the head and focusing on the next job and not kind of running away with yourself, because we would have had a problem with that in the past where we've lost big leads because we think, oh, we're going to win this game or whatever. So we'd kind of be talking about that, and we'd call it blue heads, like, you know, just keep cool, keep calm. And I suppose Nicole just got up and spoke about just apart, like, to move away from that analytical side of things and our hearts. And she said that all the group she'd received a lot of support going into her. She had the surgery before the All-Ireland final, and she'd received a lot of support from the group. As I'm sure you'd be well aware yourself, you know what I mean? You went through it, and people would have been in touch with her, and she said she would have just said that she just was really taken aback by the support of the group. And you know, I think we're getting a bit of stick from, like, I know my brother was saying something to me recently, Jesus, all you girls, every time you speak about each other, you say, oh, we're a really, really special group. But I suppose this is just one of those occasions where she really helped me see how much of a privilege it was to be involved in the group that I'm currently involved in. And, you know, I'm not going to go into, like, what she spoke about, because obviously it's quite personal to us, but it was incredible, and it gave us huge energy going into that week, because, you know, there's a lot of young girls involved in the group, and there can be a lot of nerves. And you know, she was ever present, and she didn't, not that, like, she would have, I'm sure she did feel sorry for herself, but there was never any negativity when she was around the group. Like, she was down training in the gym sessions with us and everything, and I just so grateful for the way she conducted herself in the run up to the All-Ireland final. And yeah, that's it. She's a good kid.
So it's going to be tough because, like, you've involved with Dublin and that team for, you know, quite a while, and then to be like, okay, right, this is to make that move to Melbourne. It's not like, especially the way you speak about the group, that doesn't sound like an easy decision to make, even though I know it's, you know, it's the right part of the season to do it, but still leaving a team like that's tough. That's, like, you know, a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I spoke about it briefly last week. I couldn't really say too much because obviously the news hadn't been announced, but it would have been, like, very high up on my biggest concerns about leaving, about going to play AFL. Obviously, I AFLW, sorry. Obviously, it's an incredible
It's
opportunity.
tricky, don't worry. Just like I say Aussie rules and it's fine. You get it.
No, obviously it's an incredible opportunity and it's something that I really, really want to do. And Melbourne, like, if you asked me a couple of years ago, would I go, like, they would be the club that I would want to go to. There's huge Dublin links there. There's huge history between Dublin GAA and the Melbourne Demons. So don't get me wrong, like, I'm so looking forward to it. I'm so excited about it. But a massive concern of mine was how this would impact Dublin and, you know, not even impact Dublin, but like how my teammates and my manager would feel about it. And as I said, as I said last week, I was very transparent with Mick about the potential of me going over. So I've obviously played like so many consecutive seasons with Dublin, and I never did the year away that maybe other people did, which is absolutely fine as well. You know what I mean? If you're stepping away for the year, I've never really
Apart from that J1, which really, it broke you into the Dublin side, I feel.
Yeah, that J1 with you, I was like, I'm never going away again.
Oh man,
With people you meet.
I was like peak athletic condition after getting off that plane.
Yeah, so even like since then, I've done consecutive seasons since that J1, those many years ago, decade ago, and it would be probably heading into my, I think, 14th pre-season with Dublin. So I just, apart from the fact that like Melbourne Demons really sit well with me, you know, it's an amazing club, and I just think the attributes that I have as a Gaelic footballer would be quite transferable to the sport. I know I've gonna have a huge amount to learn, but apart from that, like, I've never really been away. Like, I never did anything. I never kind of travelled or anything, and there is girls in the group who would have taken a year here and there. So I feel like this is an opportunity for me to kind of do that, like see a bit of the world, but also still play a sport that I think I could potentially be good at based on the skills, my attributes as a Gaelic footballer, and then obviously I'd still be keeping fit and stuff. And
but as well as that, they are quite similar, the fundamental skills that you need, so that if you know, rip it up in Melbourne or not, you're still going to take something from it and bring it back to Dublin. So it's kind of a win-win for you get to travel and meet new people, but also, you know, you get to experience full-time like professional sport, which is it's definitely going to be a positive for you as a Gaelic footballer.
I'm extremely excited about, you know, just being in a setup where my main focus is the sport that I'm playing. Obviously, my main focus when I play for Dublin is Dublin, and it's actually my career and everything that takes. It's the back burner, but to have like a sole focus where you're not like, oh, I actually
have to pay a mortgage, I need to pay the car,
I should be doing my thesis, but instead I'm getting a few sneaky extra sessions in. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously I spoke about how like special group I'm involved in at the minute in Dublin, but you know, some of the Melbourne girls have been on to me already, and the list manager Todd was over in May before we even signed a contract. Like, I met people from the club, and you'd love them, the sound. His wife Brooke was over, and she played last year for Melbourne, and I was able to get a great insight from them, and they were just like genuinely great people. They were really, really sound, so I was just so comfortable, you know, with my decision then, that after that my concern will be how it would impact Dublin. But I think I know Mick Bowen's extremely supportive of it. You know, it's a case by case situation. He knows my history with Dublin and how much I've kind of been around over the last decade and a half, and
it shows.
Those wrinkles.
And
the commitment I've had, and he appreciates that, and you know, he's been really, really supportive of it, and he's going to be in touch with Melbourne, and he's going to try and learn from it as well. And he's going to have, I'm meeting him during the week, and he's going to have conversations with them, and there's people from the club from Melbourne over in December, and he's going to meet them then and stuff. So I think all around it's been really positive, and
free digs for me when I come over and visit.
And few jerseys,
oh yeah, definitely extra large. But before you go over there, I've obviously I wanted to prep you for Melbourne as best I possibly could. So I got like, now it's really easy. It's just a little quiz, right? So some of them are, you know, true or false. Okay, firstly, we'll keep it easy. Capital of Australia.
Sydney. I don't know.
Okay.
I never left Ireland.
Okay, so That is a nil point. Canberra. Okay, trick question. Okay, don't worry. That was just a little
What was
test.
the answer?
Canberra.
Sorry, what?
Canberra.
You didn't know that.
No, I did.
Yeah, because it was written in front of you. But you didn't know that before
I knew
this.
that already, Mackers. I am sorry,
So,
but I am.
fine.
Give me a,
Next.
Next, sorry. Okay, Melbourne is the capital of which Australian state?
Victoria.
Nailed it.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's a little bit of true or false. Okay. The world's largest stained glass ceiling is located in Melbourne. True or false?
False.
It is true. So you should take a spin. National Gallery of Victoria. That's where it's at. Right. According to the RSPCA, Melbourne is officially the fox capital of the world, with between 6 and 23 foxes per square kilometre in the urban area of the city. True or false?
Like the whole statement or parts of the statement?
The whole statement.
True.
True. Okay. 2 out of 4. The deepest natural harbour in the world, with 504,000 megalitres of water. Is that in Melbourne or Sydney?
Sydney. Harbour.
Correct. Well done. Nice. The world famous spread Vegemite was invented in Melbourne. True or false?
True.
It is true.
Yeah. Todd brought
I'm
me
actually-
over some when he came over to visit me.
What thoughts? Gross.
Oh, I think it's a bit gross, yeah.
It's a yeast
gonna bring
spread with spices.
I'm going to bring some Ballymaloon with me when I go over.
Oh, nice, good shape. Where was Australian actress Rebel Wilson born? Melbourne or Sydney? Oh man, I think I've forgotten this. No, I remembered.
Melbourne.
Sydney. Where? Okay, so Chris Hemsworth, did he become famous for starring in Home and Away or Neighbours?
Home and Away.
Correct.
Was a guess? Yes.
Nice. Liam Hemsworth, where is he from? Melbourne or Sydney? Liam.
Are they not brothers? Surely they're from the same place.
Okay, where is Chris Hemsworth from then? Melbourne or Sydney?
Melbourne.
Correct. Damn it. Okay. Oh, you've actually done really well.
If they've all been guesses, true or false was a mistake.
Fuck you.
It was a 50-50
Okay, well,
chance.
okay, last one. Are you able to sing the jingle for Neighbours?
I'm not going to do it if that's what you want.
Do you know like the first line or two?
Yeah, I will speak it. But I
you
will
can,
not
you, can,
sing
you, can, you
it.
can speak it. You can speak it.
No, I know the last line. That's when good neighbours become.
Good friends. Oh man, I think that's the best ending to our show ever. We are sad. Oh god. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got time for this week. How'd you feel that went?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, thank you so much for listening this week. That's all for myself and Mackers. Thanks for listening.